I swear, every time I check Destiny's ex account, my opinion about him goes down 15 points. Now, given I do appreciate it whenever he complains about Hassan Piker, because believe it or not, I actually hate Hassan Piker more than Destiny, so there's that. Also, why is he dressed like a 13-year-old? I haven't got a clue. But when I see posts like this is when I genuinely start thinking, either this guy doesn't know how to present a coherent line of argumentation, or he's just trolling. I'm gonna lean on trolling, but let's review it anyways, because I do think that a lot of people, if you check the messages, and it's not just that I think, we'll read some of the comments, I think people just do not use their brain these days. So, Destiny Stephen Bonnell II posts, "Whoa, buddy, when I said free speech, I didn't mean you could just start saying things I don't like, and this is supposedly an own on the MAGA, because usually right-wingers in general tend to be very supportive of freedom of speech and First Amendment rights. Oh wow, so hypocritical of you to complain about. To complain about what? That's exactly what we need to check. So what we are seeing here is like he's commenting on this, which is a post by the Patriot Oasis, and we read, breaking. The man who mocked the assassination of Charlie Kirk during the past weekend's No King protest in Georgia has been identified as Ian Charbonneau. He's allegedly a shift manager at Pizza Hut. You know what to do. X, make him famous. So, first and foremost, before you go and go nuts, we don't know if this is correct. It hasn't been confirmed as far as I know. And in fact, if we read this, readers added context they thought people may want to know, we see this individual is not an employee of Pizza Hut. So be careful. Like, I am 100% in favor of showing each and every single one of these absolute pieces of scum that mock Charlie Kirk's death, celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, threaten conservatives, right-wingers, and in fact anyone, centrists, that disagree with them, that do direct threats and call to actions for violence. Yeah, every single one of these people need to be made famous. And when we say made famous, the reason why I'm doing this, because I used that expression myself. Let me make it clear. When I say make him famous or make her famous, it means get his face everywhere so that his friends, family, employers, and colleagues can see what he actually did or what she actually did. This is what I mean, in the hopes that they will have some repercussions due to what they did, due to their choice of words or actions that they had publicly displayed. And of course, if there were direct threats or incitement to violence involved, then I hope that there is legal repercussion and they end up in prison. That's the only thing I mean by make them famous, just so we're clear. However, the crowd that keeps trying to use this, oh, I thought you were for freedom of speech, in these scenarios are absolute morons. So either Destiny is also an idiot, or he's doing it on purpose, even though he knows it's a non-argument, and he's just doing it because then people will go into this comment section, engage with him, and spam the name once again. Of course, I'm not going to engage directly, but let's have a look. For instance, the real whatever the heck Johnson's 128,000, so this is not a random individual, says, wow, getting shift managers at Pizza Hut fired for exercising freedom of speech makes you, checks notes, once again, it's the typical thing that lefties use against conservatives, and they think it's an own. It's not an own. Freedom of speech, it's unbelievable that I have to explain this to Americans. Unbelievable to me. It's a failure of educational system, and it's in fact a symptom of a propagandistic brainwashing that prevents people from using critical thinking. Freedom of speech means that your speech is protected, even if it's ugly speech, even if it's awful speech, even if it's offensive speech, as long as it's not direct threats of violence or incitement to violence, full stop. Those matters of those type of speeches are not protected. Now, some of these people that we call out are absolutely doing threats, so they should be called out, particularly when they said stuff like, oh, we need to take off Charlie Kirk's children and stuff like that. I think even the most radicalized individual should figure out the logics behind such a statement. Well, actually, I'll take that one back. Radicalized people do not think. They have the system think for them. Let me rephrase. Even the most left-wing oriented individual who hasn't been radicalized will be able to understand the inner logical fallacy within this type of comeback when it comes to direct threats and incitement to violence. No one who supports freedom of speech ever says, oh yeah, but you can actually do the direct call to violence. No one is expecting that. But what about this? So clearly, this person is a piece of shit, is mocking the death of Charlie Kirk. But is this a direct call to violence? No. Is this direct threat? No, at least for what I can see, it can become such if they say, for instance, if you vote conservative, you deserve this, or I'll do this to you, then it becomes a threat of violence. So I would have to see the full clip. But if it's just doing this, it's awful to look. But would I want the authorities to arrest him? No. No. But this has nothing to do with expanding the reach of their awful behavior, which is what we as content creators are doing, YouTubers, but in general people on X, even regular people on X that repost what they already did publicly. Publicly, this is a public space. This is not a leaked private message. This is public. So once you make it public, it's fair game. And so if anyone reposts it and says, look at this piece of shit, because he's a piece of shit, and then a lot of people do it, and the post goes viral, and their employer sees it, or their employers are notified of such behavior, and then in their absolute freedom, the employer says, I don't want to have anything to do with this shit. That's fine. No one took away your freedom of doing this. No one took away your freedom of speech is still here, but freedom of speech doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want, and for whatever reason, your friends, family, and employers and workforce and in the workspace are all going to be okay dealing with you. I wouldn't, if I was an employer of a business and I knew that one of my employees does this, fired immediately. I would say, get out of here, scum. So that's fine. And it's not an infringement of your freedom of speech. This would become an infringement of freedom of speech if you do horrible stuff like this, or if you say or horrible stuff about Charlie Kirk and whatever you want, and the police comes to your place and arrests you. Then I'm going to agree with you and say, hold on a minute, what about his freedom of speech? Right? Because freedom of speech means free speech is also speech that I hate. It's ugly speech oftentimes, in fact. This is so normal. Look, another one of these imbeciles, Ace. At least no followers, good. So here there's the MAGA guy, LOL, George Floyd, 41%, Melissa Hotman, Paul Pelosi, all of this stuff. And apparently the left-winger says nothing. I don't know on what planet. And then the left-winger says, LOL, Charlie Kirk. And the MAGA is like, what the fuck, you just, seriously, buddy? Yeah. I mean, what does this have to do with freedom of speech, first? And second, this is not true. The leftists always complain about what... Leftists complain even when right-wingers just say very basic stuff. Like, I love the traditional family. That's enough to trigger a left-winger. So there is that. These people live in fantasy land. I'll make a dedicated video to this lady here. Look, unlike you, woke snowflake commie libs, I'm not so easily triggered, and then he gets triggered by people making jokes and celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And that's stupid again. It's very stupid. You should be triggered by the evil, pure, disgusting evil of people laughing and celebrating the death of a father, a husband. What do you mean? How do you think you are the good guys? How? 5,000 followers in California. Okay. Yeah, look, now do this one. Let's go, Brendan, and then I think this is Biden, right? Yeah, you could, that's the thing. If you say, oh, this is absolutely out of place, I would agree with you. I'd be like, yep, it's out of place. And if someone put here Trump, I would say, yep, it's out of place. And then you have idiots like this. Charlie Kirk was not a nice man. And you are, I'm going to tell him. And you are? Exactly. Like, it's always like they tell you that someone is not a nice man simply because he has politics and ideas and religion sometimes that they don't agree with. But then they are the first one to do 1,000 times worse than anything they could have used against Charlie. Unreal. And look, this is a great man. Make him president. This guy. The left is gone. The left is unhinged. Completely gone. No principles, no morality, no integrity, nothing. And this, and I could continue, but at the end of the day, that's the idea. And so it is such a stupid counter-argument that I have to believe. I don't know what I should believe about this, but this is not an argument. Destiny goes off on her son being a Nepo baby. I don't want to say it. I agree with Destiny on this one, but it's difficult for me to say it. Now, look at this. Cute. The marching orders are out in full display. It's embarrassing how transparent MAGA is with their propaganda. Once again, a non-argument from Mr. Destiny here. So this was, of course, I don't care about some group chat said by Faith Merrill, and I think that she's absolutely right. She's absolutely right, because at the end of the day, the chats were awful. I myself have said that. I have a dedicated video, but they are nothing in comparison. Not only to what happened to Charlie, not only to what happened to her, And you might think, yeah, but this guy's not like he's a left-winger. Right, but then you have big left-wing accounts like the Black Tucker Carlson with 120,000 followers on X that post stuff like this, and it's not the only thing he posted. He posted this, he posted this, he posted this, and this, which as you can see, is clearly relevant. This is, seriously, if you're a Democrat and you're watching this, do you think this guy is the good guy that posts this? Like, how? With a straight face, how is this the good guy? I don't get it. So, considering this stuff, then yeah, I will also say 100 times worse what the left does in comparison to the group chat. Also, Destiny says that MAGA is transparent in their propaganda, yet the Young Republican group chat was leaked. It was leaked. It was private messages. Radical leftists do these publicly. I'm not even going to click on his account because it's going to be absolute pure poison. And once again, the main difference is that the left does all of this proudly and shamelessly. So explain to me how Destiny thinks that this is a known. MAGA is transparent in their propaganda. Okay. Delusional at this point. Anyways, that's the new situation with Destiny. Is there gonna be more? Who knows? You let me know. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.